My last video about OBS Studio reached 100,000 views. It blew my mind. It wasn't even supposed to be a tutorial, but many people used it in that way. I can do way better when it comes to showing you how to use OBS Studio effectively. That's what I'll do today. I'll show you how. This is for teachers, trainers, video makers, presentation givers, presenters, and anyone else that wants to be at the top of their game when on camera or when recording their screen. Before we jump onto my PC, download and install OBS Studio and start from the very beginning, I want to talk about your online privacy and security. Do you use the internet a lot? Working, surfing, managing documents online, doing your online banking, watching handsome YouTubers talk about software? Well, listen to this. You don't need me to tell you that we live in an age where our personal and private data is bought and sold on a daily basis. Everything we do online is unprotected, tracked, and collected. Even if you use incognito mode on Chrome or on Edge or Brave or whatever browser you use, your ISP, your internet service provider, still has access to your online activity. NORDVPN is a super easy to use VPN which prevents this invasion of your privacy and your security. And it ensures your safety from hackers, data miners, and nosy websites. It also allows you to access exclusive regional content from anywhere in the world, and it potentially speeds up your internet connection as well. A VPN is a virtual private network, and full disclosure, I had never used one before recently. I started using NordVPN for a few reasons. And actually, none of those reasons initially included for my own security, but now that's definitely one of the main reasons. Let me tell you exactly what I use NordVPN for. Gaming. I sometimes play online games, and I noticed that I'd been getting so much lag recently. Someone told me a VPN might help with this lag when gaming, and I didn't believe them at first. So I downloaded NordVPN, connected to a US server from Peru, and the lag stopped like magic. I started gaming again. This is especially useful if you play games with mates in other countries. Netflix and other location-exclusive content. In Peru, I get Netflix US, which, to be honest, is superior. But there are some shows that I want to watch that are only on Netflix UK. So from Peru, I can connect to a UK server, and then I have access to Netflix UK. Note that this doesn't bypass a Netflix subscription. You still need that. Saving money. Firstly, some websites save your data and give you prices based on where you live. And they know where you live because of your IP address. Have you ever noticed that when you're looking for a hotel room or a flight, each time you go back, it gets more expensive? Companies notice that you keep coming back to check out that product or service. So they kind of know you're going to buy it eventually. They up the price until you give in and buy it at a higher price than you normally would have if you'd had a VPN. Security. Like I said, this wasn't the main reason that I got NordVPN. It was to give me a better internet connection when doing certain things, which it has done. But I also do a lot of money managing online and, I don't want my credit card details or my banking info stolen. With NordVPN, I can connect to over 5,300 different servers in 59 different countries. No limits, no borders, no nonsense, all with literally a single click. Want to try NordVPN for yourself? Click the link in the description or use the code Milne for a massive 68% discount on a 2-year plan that comes with an additional month for free. I do feel weird promoting products or services on my channel. It's not the reason that I make content, but NordVPN really, honestly, is something that I totally believe in, and I think it's worth it. The reason I'm recommending it to you in this video, this OBS tutorial, is because I've noticed when downloading pictures and GIFs that I use in OBS when teaching, I usually download them on the spot when I'm in class, for example. I noticed that before I connected to a private network using NordVPN, it was really slow and I had to stop doing that. But when I connect to a server using NordVPN, it's super fast. Now let's download OBS Studio. The very first thing that we need to do is go to Google. Let's look for OBS Studio. The top link will take us to the right website. It's obsproject.com. Let's click that. I'm going to download Windows because I'm on Windows. The download should start immediately. Just save it into your downloads folder or wherever. This is just the setup, so it doesn't matter where you save it really. As soon as the download's finished, just click it and go through the installation process. Okay, once it's finished installing, you might want to open it up if it doesn't open up already and go through the auto configuration settings. These are the things that I clicked when going through the auto configuration settings. When it came to the streaming part, I just left it and clicked cancel because I'm not going to be going through streaming like Twitch gamers streaming and stuff like that. I'm not going to be going through that. So once OBS is open, you'll see, hopefully, exactly this. The very first thing I recommend you do is click Studio Mode in the bottom right. What this does is it shows you a preview of everything that you've got going on. And then on the right is the program window, which is the end result. It's what the viewer sees if you're using it as a webcam, or what you are actually recording if you're recording your screen or recording something. So right now we have nothing in either one. Before we put something in there, let's just make it a little bit bigger and let's just go through a few things that we see right in front of us. The very first thing I want to say is everything is clickable and draggable, and you can customize your OBS exactly how you want it. But if you accidentally, really mess it up and you have no idea how to get everything back, then you can actually go to View, Docs, and then Reset UI. So you reset the user interface back to the original settings. And to kind of stop yourself from messing it up again, go to View, Docs, and lock your UI. And now you can't drag anything around and it will always look like this. Okay, so bottom left, we have scenes. Then after that, we have sources. And then we have an audio mixer, and then scene transitions, and then some basic buttons, some of the main buttons for us. We have transitions up here, preview, program. Let's go through them a bit slower. Scenes. Imagine that you are a film director. Okay, and you have several scenes that you want to go through. On these scenes, you need to put things. So you need to put objects in there. That's where sources comes in. So sources are the things that are in the scenes. On the bottom of scenes, you can see add scene, remove scene, move it up, move it down. Same for sources. You can add, remove, go to properties, move things up, move things down. So we'll make a scene and add some sources in just a second. The next thing is audio mixer. If you're just using OBS as a virtual webcam, then audio mixer doesn't really matter. It's not really important. But if you're recording your screen or streaming, then you might want to take a look at the audio settings, which I'll get into later. But don't worry, if you're just using it as a webcam, doesn't matter what goes on here. You can even click these speakers to mute everything. Then we have scene transitions. Now in studio mode, we have scene transitions here as well. So this is a little bit redundant. Unless you're not in studio mode, then it's pretty useful. So I usually remove this, but I'm just going to leave it there. In order to remove something, you just right click and then go to what you want to untick, and then it will disappear from the UI. But I'm just going to leave it here for the moment. And then we have the main things here: start streaming, start recording, studio mode, settings, and then exit. Let's set up our first scene. We already have a default scene here just called scene, and we could add a new one, or we could just use this one. Let's add a new one, and we'll call it, doesn't matter what you call it, by the way. Anything you rename here in OBS is just so you can identify it yourself later. So the names of things doesn't change anything. But I'm just going to call it live. And it's the scene that I'll use when I'm live on camera. I could move this up to the top by clicking the up arrow, or I could move it down. This just changes where it is. Doesn't doesn't change anything about the scene itself. It just changes its position here in this list. If I want to remove the other scene, I can just click it. And I could click remove here, or I could right click it and click remove here. You get a lot more options when you right click things. So I could duplicate it, I could copy all of the filters, which we'll talk about soon, and paste them over to another scene. But for now, let's just remove it using this button. Are you sure? Yes, it's gone. So we just have this one scene. Still, nothing's happening in preview or in program because we haven't put any sources in yet. So the first source I'm going to add is going to be my webcam. So I'm going to go to sources and click add. And then let's go to video capture device. That's if you want to add your webcam. And I'm just going to rename it so I know what it is in future. Then I can click OK. One of the things that immediately stands out to me is the fact that it's square. Why is it square? It's because I haven't set up the resolution. So my camera is 1080p. So if I click the drop down next to resolution FPS type and click custom, I can then click the resolution and I can choose 1920 by 1080, which is the resolution of my camera. And now you'll see that it fills up the area here. When it comes to FPS, my camera can go up to 60 FPS, but 60 FPS isn't really necessary and it's not really recommended when you're just using it as a webcam for a meeting or presentation or teaching or whatever you're using it for. If it's just your webcam, your FPS should be 30. 30 is fine. Everything else, just leave it. You don't really need to mess with anything unless you're looking to do something specific. And then just click OK. If this were my webcam, which it isn't because we haven't set up the virtual cam yet, we'll do that in a minute, then the viewer actually wouldn't see anything because program is just black. Or if I were recording, trying to record myself or record myself with the screen, then it would just be recording this because this is the end result. Remember, this is just a preview. So if I want this to go over here, I need to transition it over by clicking one of the transition buttons. So I could click the fade transition and now I'm here. The preview stays the same, and if I change the preview, the program stays the same as well. I don't know which camera to look at now because now I have my webcam here and my main camera over there. If you want to fade to black, if you want to change the transition speed, maybe we want it to be 10 times slower, so we'll change it from 300 milliseconds to maybe 3000 milliseconds. And now if I transition over, you'll see it's a lot more dramatic. Or if I want it to be really fast, let's drop it to 100, and it would take, fade to black first. It takes 0.1 seconds to fade up. Let's set that back to 300 milliseconds, that's fine. Now it's just good. And if you just want to instantly cut over, then you just click that cut button there and it cuts over. Or if you want to control the fade, you can use this slider and it kind of, peaks into the scene. And then if you drag it all the way up, then it just stays there. Now, when you try and resize yourself and move yourself around, you click these little red boxes. And I recommend dragging yourself into the top left corner and just dragging the bottom right one to however you want it to be. So if you wanted to be in the corner here, and if you weren't using a green screen, maybe you wanted to crop this a little bit and drag it in, or maybe drag this in a little bit right as well. If you click and drag, it moves the whole thing. It resizes the whole thing. So if you actually hold Alt and then drag it in, then it crops it for you. And you'll see the red borders are already the maximum they can be, and the green borders means there's more image to see if you hold Alt and drag it out again. Okay, let's move it back. Maybe you want to add a new scene where you can kind of present things and show pictures while you're still there. So let's add a new scene and we'll call this one Cinema. and nothing's here in it yet. We want to put our webcam in again, so we'll go to Sources, click the plus button, add a video capture device. This time, because we added our webcam before, we can go to Add Existing and add the one that we added before, and it's here. Now maybe I want to be in the corner and I want to hold Alt, drag those corners, put myself in there like that. Let's crop that a little bit, make myself a bit bigger. And maybe I want to have a picture behind me. So I have a folder full of GIFs and pictures and random things. So let's say, for example, I wanted to show beach or fish and chips or both. So I could click beach and just drag and drop it. Maybe fish and chips as well, just drag and drop. It's a really high resolution picture. I'm going to click the corner, drag that, and then click the picture and move it up. Click the corner, drag it down, click the picture, move it up. Okay, let's just put it here for now. Maybe I want the beach to fill the whole screen. So I'll drag it, and now that's great. Remember, nothing's changed here yet because I haven't cut over to it. But I want to be on top of the beach. So I'm just gonna click my webcam and then click the move up button once, and now I'm above beach. Or you could click and actually move it by clicking and dragging like that. And maybe I want the fish and chips just on the beach like that. So now, if I were in a presentation, I could go from my live scene to my cinema scene and transition over. Let's do a nice fade. And now this is what they see. And then fade back. And that's the basics, the very basics of how to use OBS. But we can do way more than this, and we can make it much better. Another thing I like to do with the cinema scene, by the way, is let's delete fish and chips. So we'll click it, just press delete on our keyboard. Delete that. Maybe I want to hold Alt, just crop this a bit more. And maybe I want it here, but I want a white background so it looks a bit more professional. So I'm going to click the plus under sources in my cinema scene, and I'm going to add a color source. Let's just call it white BG for background. And it's already white. I could click select color and choose any color I want. Let's go for a different color. Let's go for kind of light bluish. Press OK. Oh, it's on top of everything. So let's click it here and drag it to the bottom of everything. And there we go. So now I have a nice little background behind me. As I said, those are the very basics. What I want to do is show you how to use your green screen. But first, let me show you what my green screen and lighting setup looks like. Take a look. Let me show you how my green screen works and how I set up my lights as well. The green screen. On the green screen, there are these ribbon loops and they're stitched onto it. There are 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of hooks that I've taped and stuck up there. I need a bench because I'm quite short. On the wall, there are 1, 2 little Velcro patches. Velcro patches. I did iron this green screen today. I don't usually iron it. If you're going to do a video, you really want it to work well. Keep it ironed, keep it straight. Okay, that's the green screen done. And my chair is black, it's not green. So, because I'm quite short, the chair comes over my head a bit and I don't like that. So I made a little cover with the same fabric, it's the same color. Don't ask me where I got this fabric because it's just from a market here in Peru. It's just cheap fabric. You don't need to really buy an expensive green screen anyway. Just get some fabric and engineer it to your needs. Okay, and then the light, if you can see, there's quite a lot of shadow on the green screen right now. So I've got a big light up here, just the ceiling light. This one's quite strong. Still got some shadows, not really ideal. By the window, I've got a lot of natural light coming in. I used to just close this curtain, but it blocks a lot of that natural light out, and it kind of, because my curtain's a bit yellowish, the light that shines onto me is yellowish. So I made put another curtain pole up there and made this makeshift white fabric. It does the job, all right? Basically, this just diffuses the natural light so that I don't have to close the curtain all the way, and the light that comes through the window is diffused, not as strong. Then obviously I've got light coming from my monitor onto my face. Some people choose to have maybe a little baby USB ring light on their monitors. That's a good idea. Not if you wear glasses though. And because my desk is against the wall, I can't have another light right here, which would be ideal, but I do have a ring light here. I've put another piece of white fabric around the ring light, again, just to diffuse the light a little bit so it's not as strong. You know, there's still some shadows. They're always going to be, unless you have an amazing lighting setup, there are always going to be some shadows, but OBS does a good job of giving you a clean green screen, regardless of how good your lighting is. The thing that's really, really important if you have a green screen, apart from the lighting, is you need to have a decent camera. This is the Logitech C922 Stream Pro camera. Picks up the saturation of color really well. If you're using an inbuilt laptop camera, it's not going to work as well. That's how I set up my green screen. I have my green screen behind me. I have decent lighting. I have a good camera. So the green screen effect is going to work well. I'm going to be able to remove my background and change my background into whatever I want. So I'm going to go to sources in my live scene, and I'm going to right click Logitech webcam and click filters. There are so many filters that you can use that really help you out. And we don't want audio or video filters. We want to go to effects filters. So we'll click the plus and we're going to add chroma key. Let's just call this green screen. Could just leave it as chroma key, that's fine, but we'll call it green screen. And it's already tried to do a little something here. What I tend to do is, you can play around with this until you find something that works. I usually drop the key color spill reduction to 0 or to 1 and the smoothness to 1. And then I play with the similarity, put that at about, for this it looks like about 4.8 is fine. Yeah, and then once that's done, I can close that. Now if I go over to my cinema preset, notice that my green background is gone. And even if I hold Alt and drag that out, because the whole thing behind me is green, I even have more space now to maybe point to things. Yeah, oh, look at that, it's over there. So this is great. Let's hold Alt and drag that out as well. And now I can put this essentially behind me using the green screen effect. Or I could make myself bigger, or I could even go on the beach. Remember, they can't see it yet until I go over to it. And here I am. I'm actually going to delete that beach, double click the white background, the blue background, and I'm going to make it white. And let's click OK, move myself in the corner there. Let's go back to our live preset. So now we can add a background behind me and maybe even a company logo or something if you want to do that. So I already have a background saved. Let's look up house. Okay, so I'm going to drag and drop this in here. And let's just drag it. Keep dragging, even though it's going down into this area where you can't see what's going on. It's fine, it's still there in the full screen. So we'll drag it like that. Move it below my webcam, and there we go. The color of my webcam right now doesn't look amazing, so I could right click and go to filters, and let's add a new filter called color correction. Alright, this is where you have to be really careful because you can really mess up how you look. What could I change? I've just realised I've got red on me, like Shaun of the Dead. I thought it was maybe lipstick, but it's not because it's on my hand as well. What is that? Anyway, doesn't matter. So you can play around with the brightness. Now you can do really cool effects with this, you know. You could make yourself like a silhouette for certain things. Let's just put that back to 0. Saturation, obviously you want to be careful with that, but you could be like black and white film. Okay, let's put that back to 0. Or was it on 1? Nope, it definitely wasn't. It was on 0. And hue shift, so you can change your color. And the cool thing about this one is, let's click defaults and put everything back. Actually, this is not the preview scene, right? This is the real scene. The cool thing about the color correction stuff is it happens in real time. So if I mess with the hue, I can change colors like this. So I sometimes do this in class when I'm teaching English. I ask them, what color am I now? Green. And now? Blue. What about now? Purple. Yeah. All right. You can change your opacity, so you can be like a ghost on the camera. And this is all under the color correction filter. So I might up the contrast a little bit. Just a touch, right? Just a little bit to make myself pop a little bit more. Gamma, I reckon I'll leave that. Saturation a touch. That's fine. So if we click this eye, we can hide it. So you can see this is the before and this is the after. It's just a little bit better, right? A little bit more contrast, looks a little bit better. So that's something you can do. Now, if you want to add a logo, like a company logo or something, you should look for an image that is a PNG image. So this is a PNG file. You could just Google, you know, your company name, PNG, look at images and find one, save it, and then drag and drop it in here. The reason that you want it to be PNG is because if it isn't, it would have an opaque background. Like this GIF isn't, oh, it's not even a GIF, it's just a picture. Oh no, wait, sometimes GIFs don't work until you transition over. Okay, it is a GIF. But it has a solid background. So let's just delete that. Pressing delete on my keyboard and then enter. But let me show you a PNG file. So this logo, drag and drop it in. Let's mess with the settings or the size. And I could put that logo over here. PNG, you notice it means the background's not there. So there's no background. And then if I move over here, it's in front of me. If I drag here and drop it under my webcam, then it's behind me. So you can have a company logo to transition over like that in the background. And you can have, you know, anything in here. You can set it up however you want. You can make it your own, and it's super, super easy to do. We haven't talked about these eyes and these padlocks here, so I'll just quickly mention. If you click the eye, it hides whatever source is it's connected to, and if you lock it, then it means you can't move it around. So if I click and try and drag the corners, you know, it's just going to move the one behind it. It's not going to move my webcam. So if you're happy with everything, you can lock everything, and then you're good to go. Also, this can be useful using the eye if you want to, I don't know, if you're teaching a class and you want to give a thumbs up if someone gives a right answer. I have a thumbs PNG picture. I'm just going to drag it in. Maybe I want it to be behind me, so I'll just click down like that. And now, if you want effects to happen in real time, you have to go out of studio mode. So we'll cut this over, out of studio mode. And now, if you want to say, you know, good job, you can click the thumb and say good job, and then click it again, and it goes away. And then back into studio mode, so all of the changes you make aren't instant. Do you see what I mean? So I sometimes jump out of studio mode just so I can show quick, real effects like that, or hide myself without having to transition back over. Okay, let's get to the most important part, and that is setting OBS up as a virtual camera. So we actually need to go to a link and download something. Check the description of this video to find that link and watch. If we go to Tools, we can see that currently there is no virtual cam option. If you click the link in the description, this is what you should see. You should read through this. It shows you exactly how to use it, but I'm also going to show you. It's quite easy. So we're just going to click this link. And it's going to prompt us to download OBS VirtualCam. Now I'm just going to install the Windows installer. This is all I need, I think, so I'll just click that. Again, into my downloads, we can just click it and it should open up the installer. Click yes if you're prompted to allow something. Then just click next through the things. It shows you where it's going to save it. Now select the number of virtual cameras to register. Typically you'll not need more than one. So I go for 2 or 3, just because sometimes if virtual camera 1 is bugging, then I have an extra option. So just in this case, I'm going to click 3. I don't think you'll need more than 1, but just in case. Then it's done. Let's click finish. Now if we go to tools, we can't see it. So we need to close OBS and reopen it. Okay, so I've just reopened OBS, and you'll be pleased to find out that everything stays the same, by the way. You don't start again every time you open it. Now, hopefully, if I go to Tools, there it is. VirtualCam is there. So on VirtualCam, you might want to click Auto Start. So now every time you open OBS, it will be ready to be acting like a webcam. And you might want to drop your buffered frames to 0 or leave it at 3, doesn't matter too much. And just leave everything else. Just leave it and then click Start. Now it's a webcam. So I've just gone over to Zoom and created a quick meeting, and if I click Start Video, it says there's an error because it's trying to access my Logitech webcam. So if I click the up arrow, I can actually see I registered 3 virtual cams. So now I can go into OBS Camera and then Start Video, and now OBS is acting as a camera. Isn't that cool? You can do this on a Mac as well. Many people think you can't, but you can, and this is how. Click the link in the description for the Mac version of VirtualCam. Read all of the instructions, or just follow this video. If you already have OBS downloaded and installed, click the Releases page link. Download the latest .pkg package file. Open the .pkg file and click Install. Once that's done, restart OBS Studio. You should see Start VirtualCam under Tools. Done. Now I've got something else pretty useful for you as well, and it's a timer. One of the things that I love to have, especially when, teaching, is a countdown to when I'm going to go live. And I've looked around for OBS timers, and a lot of them are these big, silly, elaborated, colourful, stream starting soon timers for streamers and stuff. All I wanted is a simple countdown, and I found one. The link is in the description again. If you go to the description of the video, you can click the link for the timer, and it will take you to this website. So again, there are instructions. It's worth reading through them, maybe even reading some of the forum comments to learn more about it. This is a script. OBS allows you to download and use scripts, and a lot of them are user built. So someone has actually made this. Let's click go to download, and I'll show you how it works. Depending on your antivirus or your Windows Defender or whatever, you might get a security prompt, but you should overrule that. Usually you can click more info and click allow anyway or run anyway or something like that. So I'm going to save it into my downloads, and once it's finished downloading, it should be just here. See, Windows protected your PC. Just click more info and run anyway. And then we have our timer here. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to right click in my taskbar, and I'm going to pin it to taskbar so I never lose it and I don't need to keep going back to my downloads. Let's restart OBS. Turn the countdown on for whatsoever seconds it says. Let's put it on for 5 minutes and 30 seconds, and let's put the text on the end as ready in capitals, and let's click start. So it's counting down. You can see it counting down here, but nothing's happening in OBS. In OBS, add new text GDI and check the read from file box. Okay, so while that's counting down, I want to actually add a whole, scene right before it starts, before my class starts or before the meeting starts. So I'm gonna call this countdown, a new scene. Now let's add that text GDI plus, that's what it told us. Create a new one. And here it says read from file. Let's click that. And then we want to find the text file. So hopefully we click browse here. And then we go to my downloads. And here it is. Here's the timer. Click that, click open. And there it is. Oh, and it's counting down. Ooh, okay, good, it worked. It's always a relief. I think you can mess around with the font and have it however you want. We can change the color of it by clicking select color. Maybe we can make it a light blue. That's okay, looking good. And I want to see what happens when we get to 0. 0 and 5 seconds. And start. 4, 3, 2, 1. Ready. Good. So this timer works. And now this is in my countdown scene, which we'll add more to soon. Something that I like to do is, so it's just coming up to 6 now. Let's say my class starts at 6:30. So I'm going to put 29 minutes and 45 seconds. I'm going to wait till 15 seconds passed, and then I'll click start. 14, 15. And it's counting down. Now don't close it. Make sure you just minimize it. And once minimized, you'll notice that it goes to your taskbar over here. So you can leave it. And then it's good to go. Alright, now I want to talk about recording your screen. Without confusing you, I'm actually recording my screen right now using OBS in a different open OBS thing. So I've been recording my screen the whole time, so you can have more than one OBS open at a time. Meaning you can use one OBS as your camera and then record whatever you want using the other OBS. So if you want to record a class or record a meeting, then you can do that. Let's go to settings, and we're going to go to output. There's some really important things here, and because I'm recording using OBS, I can't change it. But I just want to show you the settings that I have. When it comes to your recording, you can choose where your videos go to. You can choose your recording quality, and I recommend indistinguishable quality, large file size, or there's one which says high quality, medium file size. That's good. The lossless one means the files will be absolutely massive, like huge, so I wouldn't recommend that. It's a good idea to record in MP4 because MP4 is a lot more universal. The default option is MKV, I think, which doesn't open on some devices, so MP4 is good. If you do have the option to have a hardware encoder, then that's recommended. And your video bitrate should be around, well, you should leave it at the default. If you have any problems with quality, then try and up it a little bit, but it should be at your default by default. If you go to video, you can see your resolution. Right now, my camera is in 1920 by 1080 resolution because that's the resolution of my camera. But if I open my other OBS where I'm recording and I go to settings on here and then go to video, you'll see because my screen is 1440p, not 1080p, my monitor is 1440p, I've had to actually change this. So depending on what you're doing, what you're using it for, you might need to change your resolution or your video settings. Now, honestly, one of the most confusing things about recording and the most important thing for some people is the audio settings. So you can see in audio settings here, in the audio mixer, I've got 3 things happening. So I have desktop audio, and if I just ping a sound, you can see that goes up as I make a sound. So this is recording the audio on my computer, not through a microphone, through the computer itself, the sound card. I have Logitech webcam because my webcam has a microphone, but I never use it. And then I have the microphone that I'm using right now, which is, you haven't seen it yet, but it's this one. I'm recording on this one. So what I like to do is sort all of this out first. You've got to figure out what microphone you're using and what you want active. So we're going to go to settings. We want to see what's going on. So if we click audio, the desktop audio is fine. We'll leave that. If you change your speakers or your headset, you might have to go here and choose where it's actually coming from. So for example, for me, it's coming out of a Bluetooth speaker. So I'll click that. And just to check, if we look here, it should still work because that's what I've got plugged in. And the microphone that I'm using here is actually the Yeti, which is the default one. So basically, all I'm showing you is you need to make sure you have selected what you should. And I would avoid just leaving it at default because you might not know what your default one is. Select the one that you want to actually use. I'm just going to leave it for now because I've started recording. I don't want to mess anything up. Everything else here is fine. But if we, click and go to properties of a certain device, we can select what it is. So I want this to be again, I said I wasn't going to change anything, but I just want to make sure that's my Yeti microphone. And now I want to know what it is. So I'm going to right click and click rename, and I'll call it Yeti. So once you've got all of your audio stuff set up, there's actually some really, really cool effects or noise reduction things that you can do. So if you right click and go to filters, there are lots and lots of filters that you can play around with noise suppression being, I think, the best one. Noise gate, limiter, gain, expander, compressor, they're all really useful, but I don't want to go too much into detail when it comes to audio filters because I barely know what I'm talking about. I've used them before, but there are videos out there where people are experts when it comes to, streaming and setting their audio settings the right way. So I'm not going to tell you how to do that. But the key thing is make sure you're not muted. Make sure you have everything set up the way you want it if you're recording your screen. And it's good to double check your levels as well. So see, my level is staying in green as I'm speaking. If I got, much closer to the microphone, it would start going in red. So I'd want to change the gain a little bit and bring this down. This is the gain, by the way, the volume. You can listen to yourself to check how your microphone sounds, especially after adding filters, by clicking the settings icon next to the microphone, then advanced audio properties. Then click the drop down next to your microphone under audio monitoring and click monitor and output, then close. Remember to turn this off before recording, or there might be an echo. So I kind of got rid of absolutely everything, and I'm going to start from pretty much the very beginning, and I'm going to make a countdown scene, live scene, a cinema scene, and also a goodbye scene. have our countdown, we have our live scene, where we would do all the talking. We have our cinema or our show and tell area, and then we have the goodbye area. So to finish off, I'd just like to say thank you for watching if you did watch it all. If you have any questions whatsoever, like at all, do comment and I will definitely respond to everyone. If you go and check out my other OBS Studio video, if you look at all the comments, I've responded to every single one, even, you know, months and months later. So I'll respond to all your comments. Thank you for watching. If you like this video, please drop a like, subscribe for good measure, and I'll see you next time.